After my father's funeral, the air still smelled of lilies and damp soil. Funeral flowers clung to my clothes like ghosts. I stood at the graveside, watching strangers pat my shoulder, whispering condolences that dissolved before they reached my ears. That was when my mother pulled me aside. Her hand trembled as it clutched mine, harder than I expected from a widow who should have been drained. "Your wife?" She swallowed, eyes darting to the dark cluster of mourners. "She visited him, the night before he died." Her voice cracked, then broke. I froze. The world seemed to tilt, the murmurs around me stretching into an unrecognizable hum. My wife? At my father's bedside? Hours before his heart stopped? Questions dug their claws into me, but my body went still, trained as if instinct told me silence was survival. Then, a small tug at my sleeve. My son. His eyes, too knowing for his age, narrowed. He leaned in, whispered so low I almost thought I imagined it. "Dad, you need to hide, before they come." I turned. 2 black SUVs rolled to a stop at the edge of the cemetery, windows tinted, engines running. Before I could breathe, my son's small hand pressed over my mouth. His grip, firm, almost rehearsed. The lilies turned to ash in my nose. Something was wrong. More wrong than grief could explain. I didn't ask my wife about it. Not that night, not the next morning. I watched her instead. The way her phone lingered in her palm longer than necessary. The way her eyes flickered when my mother's name appeared on the screen. She spoke of my father's passing like a wife would, supportive, tender, but her timing was wrong. Her voice carried a weight it shouldn't. I remembered my mother's words. She visited him. What did she mean? Comfort, condolence, or something else entirely? My father and I had been distant in recent years. His wealth, his judgment, his silence, it all built walls between us. He trusted few, loved fewer. If my wife had been among those he trusted, why didn't I know? The thought sank sharp into my gut. Then the boy, my son, his warning, before they come. How could he know something I didn't? The black SUVs weren't random. They weren't mourners late to the burial. They sat there like sentinels, engines purring, as if waiting for someone to make the wrong move. I told myself I was tired. Grief plays tricks. Children overhear things. Mothers see ghosts in shadows. But denial is thin armor. It cracks the moment silence stretches too long. I started quietly. Her phone, always face down on the counter, always clutched a second too tightly when I entered the room. I memorized the passcode in the reflection of her wine glass, waited until she showered. Messages, numbers without names. One in particular, repeated. Short exchanges late at night. Tomorrow, same place. Don't let him know. Final arrangement. The words sat on the screen like poison. I copied them, sent them to myself from her phone, deleted the trail. Next, bank records. Transfers I didn't recognize. Small amounts, scattered, but regular. My father's estate had barely settled, yet money was moving already. DNA tests were next. Not impulsive, strategic. A toothbrush, a strand of hair. My son's cheek swabbed while he laughed, thinking it was a silly game. I sent them in, labeled anonymous, paid extra for speed. Meanwhile, I behaved as if nothing had shifted, smiled at dinners, held her hand at church, kissed her cheek when neighbors watched. Inside, silence. A cold chamber where calculations echoed. The SUVs returned once, parked across the street from my house, left without a knock. My son saw them, said nothing, just watched. Like he knew. Every step forward carved deeper into me. I wanted her to be innocent. I wanted my mother to be mistaken, my son confused. But suspicion, once seeded, grows teeth. The envelope came on a Tuesday, plain, sealed. I opened it alone in the garage. The results were clinical, detached. Words on paper that rewired my blood. Paternity exclusion. Probability 0%. My son was not mine. The words cut deeper than any blade could, not because of biology, because of betrayal. The phone records confirmed the rest. The number belonged to my father's private line. The man who taught me control had been erasing me quietly, cell by cell, until his death. And she had helped him. That night, I placed the papers on the dining table, clean, centered, beside her wineglass. When she entered, she froze. "What's this?" Her voice wavered. I said nothing, just watched. She read. Her breath fractured. Hands trembled, clutching at explanations that never left her throat. "I can explain." I tilted my head, silent, waiting. The room filled with her panic. My calm was the blade. She reached for me. I stepped back. Tears spilled, hers, not mine. Words tumbled out. Claims of love, confusion, mistakes, loneliness. None mattered. I slid the phone across the table. The messages lit the screen, each one a nail in her coffin. Her knees buckled. She fell into the chair, sobbing. "I had no choice," she whispered. "He made me. He controlled everything." I leaned close, just enough for her to see the void in my eyes. "You chose," I whispered back, "and now you live with it." I didn't yell, I didn't strike, I simply took the papers, folded them, and slid them into my jacket. Her face crumbled. Not from fear of me, from the realization that she no longer held power. I walked to the door, paused. "You'll explain to him," I said, nodding toward my son's room, "when he asks why his father disappeared." Her scream followed me down the hall, raw and broken. I didn't look back. The night air was sharp. The SUVs were gone. I stood on the porch, listening to her muffled sobs through the walls I once called home. Grief for my father was gone. Grief for my marriage, gone too. All that remained was clarity. She had destroyed herself with her choices. My silence was only the mirror. I lit a cigarette, something I hadn't done in years, and let the smoke fill the void where love used to live. Control had returned to me. Cold, complete. I walked down the street, past the ghosts of mourners, past the grave still damp with earth. Behind me, my house rotted. Ahead, only quiet. The final truth settled like frost. I had buried 2 that week, and only one of them was in the ground.